Hey guys, Soy here. Welcome back to my channel. I don't know about you, but I used to feel very intimidated if I was asked to build a design system because most of the companies I worked at before were big tech companies and they usually had very well established design system. So I just need to grab the components from libraries and use them in my design. As a result, I didn't get a lot of chances to build a design system by myself. When I saw those neatly organized design atoms, complex sidebar setup, and what feels like millions of components, I just wanted to show my respect to designers on the design system team and wish that I never need to work on building it by myself. However, recently I worked on a project which required me to face my biggest fear. That was to build a design system from scratch. After completing the project, I learned a ton about creating a simple design system. And also I realized that creating a design system from zero was not as hard as I thought. So in today's video, I would like to share my process and the best practices of creating design libraries. And in my next video, I would like to talk about the basic but essential techniques of building a design system and to share tips of creating variants and booleans, which are the foundational properties of a simple design system. So stay tuned. On my channel, I'm dedicated to all things about UX job interviews and product designs. I'm also offering one-on-one career coaching to help you nail your next job interview. If you want to get more interview advice, do a mock interview, or just to talk about career development in general, feel free to use the link down below to book a session with me. Regardless if you're working on a design library by yourself or with other designers, on step one, it's always necessary to find overlapping use cases across different screens and to identify the commonly used components. The beauty of a design system is that it uses significantly efficient design production. By componentizing UI elements that are shared across different use cases and pages, you'll be able to export and update the designs at ease and at scale. When working on a side project, after doing a use case audit, I identify some of the commonly used UI elements across all screens, such as colors, fonts, buttons, etc. If you work with other designers to build a design system, try to identify UI elements that are shared between your mocks and their mocks, and also list all the UI elements that are unique in your designs. For example, all designers on the team use colors, fonts, and buttons in the designs, and your designs might include components like sliders, tabs, and tables that are only used in your use cases and are not seen in others' designs. Keep in mind the UI components that are shared across different use cases. When designing those UI elements, make sure the visuals and interactions work seamlessly in all those use cases to create a consistent user experience. When building a design system, you might wonder how might we define what is a component and what is not. The best practice I followed was to get started with the smallest atom. And what exactly does that mean? Imagine that you are building a house with Lego bricks. You need to use the bricks to put together a wall and then assemble the walls to build a house. So you need to create the building blocks first to get started. In design languages, an atom could be something that you see everywhere in the designs. When I work on the side project, I realized that color and fonts are almost everywhere in my designs. So I first get started with these elements. You might also ask, how many colors and fonts do we need? My advice is to use as little typefaces and colors as possible to create a simple visual language. Here's an example of the colors and typefaces I created. As you can see, there are less than 10 different fonts, and for colors, except for the foundational colors like black and white, each color has less than 4 different shades. And you might also wonder, how do we know what colors and fonts to add to a design system? When I was working on the side project, I realized that creating a design system is pretty similar to working on a design project. The design exploration was throughout the whole process. It's almost impossible to follow a waterfall process of finalizing the font and colors first, and then to work on the next part of the design library. As you add more stuff to your designs, you need to constantly check whether or not the font and colors still fitting all the use cases, and then see if you need to tweak the colors and fonts from the libraries. Examples of components are buttons, drop-down menu, search bar, input boxes, etc. The difference between atoms and components is that atoms are the very basic elements, and a component consists of a few atoms. Once we have the atoms set up, it's easier to use atoms to assemble components. For example, this CTA consists of font and color, We can change the button from green to red using the existing red color in the library to easily create a new red button. Molecules consist of components and atoms. In this table example, the table molecule consists of buttons, colors, and fonts. If we want to change the button in the table from a green CTA to a red one, we can do that by selecting the red button on the side panel. How easy is that? Before working on the side project, I always saw that to build a comprehensive design system, we need to create millions of components in countless states. But in reality, you just need to create components that you'll use in your design, which can be a very manageable number. For example, in well-established design system, you might see buttons in multiple sizes. That is because those design systems are used by a team to cover complicated use cases. If you're creating a design system for a side project or for a simple use cases, you only need to create components that we'll use in your designs. For example, I only have 4 sets of buttons, red and green, primary and secondary, with the default and hover states. Do iterations of the design system as you need to. You can either explore the visuals of individual components first, or componentize everything first and then explore the visuals of each component. One thing I found helpful to the design system iteration is to apply the styles to real mocks. With real mocks, it's easier to see whether or not the components can fit in the overall visuals and use cases. You don't have to apply the styles to all the mocks yet, just the ones that would give you a sense of how those components can coexist with the remaining UI elements on the screen. Also, if you want to see how the new styles look in all use cases and screens, you can componentize the whole modules on the screen, such as headers and footers, etc., and then use them in all mocks. There are 2 benefits of this approach. One is that it saves your efforts of adding the final components to your design at a later stage of your process. Because if you use components early on, then once the components are finalized, your mock is also finalized. There's no additional work of adding the final components to your design mock. The second benefit is that this approach would allow you to check whether or not the style fit in all the mocks and use cases early on in your design system iteration process. Whenever you want to make style updates, you can quickly just reference all the use cases in all the mocks to see if this update would make sense in all of them. So this is everything I would like to share with you all today. Thank you so much for watching. If you think this video is helpful, please give it a thumb up. If you have any comments or any topics you are interested in, feel free to leave a comment down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.